You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Hello, Rev Kelly. How are you doing this morning? It's November the 7th, 2022, and we are live here with the Reefer Reporters on the Pace Radio Network. Good day, Rev Kelly.
Good morning. Good Monday morning. How are you today?
Not too bad. Well, I'm not going to say not too bad. I'm going to say better because I've been sick since last Wednesday.
You got a bug.
And as you can probably hear, I still have it.
Little bug.
But I'm no longer stuck in bed.
Yeah.
So
we're glad to hear that. Yeah, that's not good. There's stuff going around everywhere.
That's right. Sure is. And it just makes it, a little harder to do things when you're sick.
Yes. Well, we're glad you're on the mend.
On the mend, yes. Got some solid food into me yesterday, and it stayed there. So that's a good sign.
Yes. And we always have cannabis to help us as our medicine.
That's right. Exactly. All right. Before we get into the news today, we should discuss something that the two of us have been working on, and we're going forward with next Monday in 7 days, and that's a roundtable discussion.
Yes. Yeah. So exciting. Yeah, that's happening November 14th, 7 to 9 p.m. everywhere that we broadcast collectively, and even other places on the CBG and 420 radio. So Eastern, I should say Eastern, because we have guests from different coasts. So we'll say Eastern.
Yeah. East to west. We'll be covering across Canada. For those who are wondering, Canada is doing a cannabis review of their Cannabis Act review, and they want to hear from a bunch of people, and they want to input. Part of the review, question 5.2 asks, it isn't quoted, but basically it says, is the medical program necessary? And they wonders whether the recreational stores will suffice as a replacement for the medical program. Which is not good news.
Right. So November 21st is the deadline to fill out the survey, the Health Canada survey. So we want everybody to fill it out and help save the medical cannabis program by using your voice to say how important it is.
Exactly. So tune in next Monday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Patients and advocates from across Canada will be right here. Everybody from Debbie Stoltz-Giffen of MUM, to Owen Smith, the Cannabis Digest, and Ted Smith of VCBC. You've got some people coming on.
Jack Kungle is coming. We have some ladies from the Education, Shauna Dunbar and Stacey Boback. Matt Jerome is going to stop by. So quite a few big voices federally.
Yes, exactly. Well, what do you say? Time for the news?
Time for the news.
All right. First story is tighten up the rules around cannabis products. OPH urges the federal government. That's right. Here we go, folks. This is all part of that review.
Ottawa's Public Health Authority is set to issue dozens of recommendations to the federal government on the Cannabis Act, from prohibiting pot products in certain shapes and colors to issuing guidelines around how many stores should be in one area.
The recommendations of the Ottawa Public Health serves as a contribution to a recently launched federal review of Canada's legislation, one designed to look at whether the rules around legal cannabis are meeting the hopes and needs of Canadians.
In a report coming up for approval today at the city's Board of Health meeting, OPH said while it remains supportive of public health approach to regulating cannabis, it still has several concerns.
Yeah. It says here that their recommendations include maintaining the current limits on the THC that's in the product. So they're not looking for higher than 10 milligrams, obviously.
Okay.
They call for a ban on any flavoring agents in the cannabis extracts, as well as the use of shapes sparkles, or colors that may appeal to children.
What? There cannot be sprinkles, and they can't have good tasting. There's no vanilla or chocolate or anything. Oh my God.
No.
Oh, all edible products should also be stamped or marked with the THC symbol when possible, OPH suggests. Well, any use of the words candy or candies should be prohibited.
Yeah. They don't want your soft chews or your hard candies. They don't want that word candy in there.
No way.
There are other recommendations include keeping the current 4-plant limit for home growers, investing in education around cannabis use and populations like children and pregnant people, providing maximum density guidelines when it comes to brick and mortar shops.
Okay, so
go ahead.
They still want to spread the stigma that cannabis is not for youth or pregnant women.
Yeah.
That's what they're still hoping to recommend, just to stay away from it.
Correct. You see what else they got there? Recommendations. They want collect race-based data to better understand racial disparities in the related charges, and they want to allow pharmacists to dispense medical cannabis.
I do like that too. But what they would have to do is they would have to teach the pharmacist complete cannabis education before that can happen. They can't just give it to pharmacists, like just the guy who doesn't know about even that ECS. It has to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Just so you know, we got a message from Lauren B. She's asked us to include the survey link, and we will do that after the broadcast. We'll put it in the comment section. All right.
Thank you so much. Under the Act, the review, which began in September, a year behind schedule, must examine the law's impact on Indigenous people, the cultivation of cannabis in housing complexes, and the health and consumption patterns of young people.
Its mandate has, however, expanded to consider social and environmental effects of legal cannabis, the impact of medical cannabis, and how the rules have affected women and racialized communities.
Interesting. Very interesting. Several of OPH's recommendations to make cannabis products less appealing to children are already captured by Health Canada guidelines and would be near impossible to codify in the Act itself, said Trina Fraser, a partner at Ottawa firm Brazier Seller Law, who specializes in cannabis law.
Yeah, she says we're not going to prescribe specifically what that means because we can't foresee every single thing that might be appealing to children. It's something that has to be determined on a case-to-case basis, she says.
Okay. Well, there's also the worry that adding more restrictions will just drive people to the still flourishing underground market, Fraser said. In the unregulated market, we're buying untested products with no restrictions whatsoever in packages that probably aren't child resistant or are designed to mimic or look like actual candy. She says that as well, and I tend to agree with her there.
Yeah. So there you go. There's some recommendations just from one place that they're looking at doing. Obviously, there's people who are out there looking for, higher dosed edibles. Yeah. They're not recommending that.
No.
So.
No. Wow. So I wonder what's going to come in. We know that Ted Smith, they're writing a big letter. We know that there are a lot of organizations, education. So, but there will be as well a lot of opposing letters, just like this, recommendations to firm up the regulations.
There's already been, I had a story last week that I posted a quote from a police association that said that they were opposed to the medical program right out. They didn't want to talk. So a group like that or other groups, I could see them taking headlines left and right and reports of violations of the medical program and how people were overgrowing or misusing the program itself and using that in order to help tear it down.
Jeez.
And people who abide by the rules will suffer for it.
Well, I got talking. Thank you to anyone that's listening and willing to fill out a survey.
That's right. And tune in November the 14th,
Please.
7 to 9 p.m. and get involved in the discussion. Comments will be included in the discussion with our panel. So if you got something to say, you can add it into the comment section. All righty. Okay, on to our next story. Constitutional challenge brews following Indigenous dispensary raids in Nova Scotia, according to StratCan. This is going to be interesting.
What? A Mi'kmaq band counselor from Millbrook First Nation in Nova Scotia, arrested in a 2020 police raid of Indigenous cannabis dispensaries, is mounting a constitutional defense, arguing that his right to sell cannabis on First Nations land is constitutionally protected. Oh my gosh.
Nova
Yes!
Scotia RCMP raided Chris Gugu's high-grade smoke shop, which sits on a reserve land in Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia, back in December of 2020, as part of a series of raids on 5 unlicensed cannabis dispensaries operating in the area. He was arrested and charged with illegal possession and distribution of cannabis.
Gugu, who is being represented by longtime cannabis rights lawyer Jack Lloyd, is now staging a constitutional challenge under Section 35 of the Constitution Act, which protects Indigenous treaty rights in Canada. Specifically, Gugu is referring to the 1752 Peace and Friendship Treaty, which promises the Mi'kmaq free liberty to bring to sale to Halifax or any other settlement within this province skins, feathers, fowl, fish, or any other thing they shall have to sell. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
And
all
Jack
right.
Lloyd is on it.
Jack's on her. That's right. Exactly. He goes on to say that exercising our inherited treaty rights is something that all of our people should be doing freely and not have to be harassed by any bodies of government.
Right.
He said this at a rally of supporters in Nova Scotia back in October.
This is going to set precedents. This is going to set precedents for the one that's happening in British Columbia. This is going to set precedents for any of the ones that are happening anywhere else when anybody has any difficulties, if they win. And I'm hoping and praying if they've got Jack Lloyd on it, we can only hope that that's what's going to happen, right?
Jack's on her.
Quoted as saying, exercising in our inherent treaty rights is something that all of our people should be doing freely and not have to be harassed by any bodies of government, said Gugu at a rally of supporters outside of Nova Scotia Provincial Court in early October, where he was appealing to set trial dates.
Yeah, this case will proceed next October. So another 11 months from now. So it'll be a year basically from now. There's 4 days for the hearings to be scheduled. And this is in advance of Gugu's trial, which is scheduled for November of 2023. So,
wow, he's being backed by former president of the National Indian Brotherhood and one of the authors of Section 35, Chief Del Riley, who has argued that the section grants Indigenous communities the authority to write their own cannabis regulations in parallel to federal and provincial law and to sell cannabis on reserve land. You're actually in a hell of a good position here, he told members of the Millbrook community in April. Do you think that's for every province in our country? Do you think that that's their rights, every province, or do you think it might just be?
I believe so.
I was thinking that too. It's got to be.
Oh yeah, that's I would say that's what they've been doing
treaty,
here in Ontario,
right?
with Tim and all them. Yeah, come at me. It's legal right treaties. Exactly.
I love it. Good.
All righty. So yeah, see what happens. We got another year to wait. It's gonna be it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. Sure, there's no doubt about that.
Ooh,
all right,
you're gonna watch.
Yeah, we gotta keep an eye on because I'm sure there'll be more stories that are gonna come up on that along the way, and we'll have to follow it up. So, okay, you ready for the next one? Cannabis producer Hexo reports a $1.1 billion loss for the year. That's on MJ Biz Daily. $1 billion. How
do you just lose $1 billion? It's a Quebec-based cannabis producer, of course. They reported a net loss of 102.4 million Canadian dollars for their fourth quarter. And that, of course, brings the company's total loss for the year to $1.1 billion.
The latest loss brings Hexo's accumulated deficits to $1.8 billion And the company has yet to generate positive cash flow or earnings, according to a filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Holy smokes, $2 billion.
Yeah. How do you keep going from that? Net revenue for the year was 191 million, substantially more than the previous year because of their acquisitions of the rival producers Redecan and 48 North cannabis companies. So they just went in and bought, but now they lost.
Yeah, exactly. They said those two companies are credited for $62 million of Hexo's sales, and stripping out those accusations, Hexo's sales, gross sales, still rose 4%. But they lost all that money. Holy.
4% is not a lot. That's not a lot.
No.
Their gross sales for the year, they're saying they have 211 in adult use. Then they have 3.4 in medical and 13.5 in the wholesale orders. So, I mean, they're making money, but that doesn't offset the $1 billion loss, it seems.
It sure is. They say that their beverage sales were up a bit to $16 million in beverages. They say the fourth quarter was a period of strategic realignment for Hexo, according to the CEO, Charlie Bowman.
Saying with a solid foundation now in place, Hexo has moved to the second phase of our transformation, focusing on producing the core brands and products that customers want, leading in innovation, and reinforcing our market share.
Yeah. Most of their sales come from Quebec. And for the year ending of July 31st, they said that Hexo became less dependent on Quebec-owned wholesaler, the SDQ, where they sell their cannabis.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
They break it down here. They say that sales in Ontario stores are credited for almost 1/3 of their sales. But they obviously, when you are, that's a lot of money. How do you make up $2 billion, Kelly?
I don't know. And how do they keep going with that? And how did Redecan is a good brand. As far as I'm concerned, they're the most medically sort of dosed brand that somebody can get. And I know a lot of cannabis coaches that say, if you have to get something, get Redecan. To patients that they have to coach that aren't willing to go for medical. So it's so surprising to me that they're absorbing these great brands. 48 North is a great brand too, and they're just losing so much money with it. How does that happen?
Every once in a while we report about $1 million bonuses and things like that.
Yeah. They're just paying the rich CEOs.
That contributes to it all.
It's probably, yeah. The guys that don't even consume their own product, the cigar smokers. The world is backwards, Al. Oh my goodness.
All right, on to our next story. Last one before we go to a break. And the headline says, recreational cannabis legalization is on the ballot in these states in this November, which is now. This is by CNN.
Right. It's on the ballot in Arkansas, Maryland, Missouri, North Dakota, South Dakota. It's a reflection of the growing momentum nationwide to lift penalties once associated with cannabis.
If approved, these states would join the 19, along with Washington, D.C., where recreational use is currently legal. 37 states, 3 territories, and the District of Columbia allow the medical use of cannabis products, according to the National Conference of State Legislators. So there's 37, 40, 41. Like, holy smokes. And they still say federally they don't have there's no medical need for it. Like,
how can that be? But medical cannabis is currently legal in each of those 5 states that are going to vote on the recreational use. So that's the first, and then maybe recreation comes after. So the first one is Arkansas, and they're going to allow cannabis possession and consumption by adults as well as the sale by licensed facilities, and they will allow cannabis possession of up to 1 ounce. and some tax revenue will contribute to funding law enforcement.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's see. The board member Melissa Folt says the Arkansas Chamber of the National Organization for the Reform of Cannabis Laws, which is normal, has expressed dismay about the proposed amendment because she says it would create a huge monopoly for Arkansas's cultivators and retailers. The initiative would create 12 additional cultivation facility licenses and a lottery for 40 additional adult use dispensary licenses to join the 80 that would be given to existing medical dispensaries. So they're going to use the existing ones, whereas here in Canada, we went around and shut them all down or tried to.
Great job, guys. If they pass it, the legalization would be in effect on March 8th of next year in Arkansas. So the next one's Maryland. And it's going to give voters the chance to legalize cannabis for people 21 and up. If passed, it would go into effect July 1st. Ooh, they would have a good July 1st next year if that happened.
Yeah.
Their backyard's barbecue would be spicy.
Now, they're allowed an ounce and a half, which is better, which is nice. But the 2 plants, well, it says a possession of a 1.5 ounces or two plants.
Interesting.
It would also allow previously convicted cannabis possession and intent to distribute to apply for record expungement, so it wouldn't be automatically wiped out.
Okay, well, possession of small amounts of cannabis are already decriminalized in Maryland, so that's good.
Yeah, Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah. In Missouri, there's a proposed amendment that will give voters the option to end prohibitions on cannabis in the state and allow personal use for those of the age over 21. It would allow for personal possession of up to 3 ounces, Callie. Wow.
Good job, Missouri.
Yeah. Let's see what else they got. It would impose a 6% tax on the retail price of cannabis. The amendment language said it would not permit cannabis use while operating a motor vehicle or anything along that line. I don't see anything on there about allowing them to grow.
I don't see that either.
Yeah.
So it's going to end 30 days after election. Is there an election? Another election?
Yeah. It's November. That's what this is in for now. Actually, Tuesday, tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's a big day tomorrow. Go ahead.
Let's see. They allow the use of cannabis in various forms for those who are at least 21 years. What do you mean? Of various forms. You have to be 21. There's a petition that states that cannabis will be tested in a facility for the potency of products and the presence of pesticides, and that cannabis businesses will be subject to random inspection. That's it?
Yeah. And you can possess up to 1 ounce.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about growing. 30 days after the election, it would kick in. So, next.
South Dakota.
Yeah. And what are they going to do there? Oh.
They would legalize cannabis possession, use, and distribution. And let's see, they'll have an ounce, and it would legally possession of cannabis. You can have some cannabis paraphernalia in South Dakota.
Yeah, you could actually have a bong to smoke cannabis with. Now, this is the place before, okay, where they passed it and the 2 police officers and the governor. This is the place, exactly. Because it says right at the top, marijuana legalization is back in the ballots in South Dakota after courts nullified the results of the 2020 ballot. And that's when those officers championed the nullification process.
Jeepers creepers. Al, I'm looking on here. Where's Mexico? Why haven't we heard about Mexico? Doesn't that have something to do with some election or ballots or something?
Something like that.
It reminds me of South Dakota.
The one good thing about on the end of the South Dakota story is it says there that Kristi Noem has indicated that if this measure is passed again, she would implement it. So she won't shut it down this time.
Okay.
Which is good, but
unless the police come in, the sheriff's office attends the office again. Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it's election time. I'm not going to say I'm going to ignore everybody's decision.
Yeah.
Right.
This is crazy
So,
stuff happening
yeah.
here.
All right. And as far as the push for federal push, it says that cannabis is legal under federal law, even as states have moved forward with legal use. Exactly. Now I know Biden's talking about the pardon things and stuff like that. And you and I have talked about. I'm just going to shut that down. You and I have talked about the U.S. situation is almost getting very similar to the Mexico situation, where you're hearing all these things, you're seeing all these big headlines and quotes and stuff and all that, but
nothing. And then nothing.
Nothing.
We for a long time, it was almost every week. Okay, we're back in Mexico. They're bringing plants. We're having conversations. And then nothing. It's like dead air.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like what's going on with South Dakota and these other places in the States that, okay, we're going to get there. And nothing.
Nothing. It doesn't happen. Somebody steps in and screws it up. Yeah. Well, what do you say? Time to take a break? Sound good?
Sounds good.
Right. I see the head nodding. Rev Kelly and I'll be right back after a break. You're watching the Reefer Reporters here. We're live on the Pace Radio Network.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Growing your own cannabis is easier than you think. Whether you're growing for recreational or medical purposes, BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. From the standard 4-plant recreational systems to the latest cutting-edge hydroponic equipment, BMA can customize your package and do it at discount prices. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville and ask us for a free estimate. Or call 613-967-9888 and we will give you an estimate over the phone.
The only way to go.
In February of 2022, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and Ted Smith were fined $6.5 million. This for helping 8,500 patients with access to medical cannabis. In our interview with Ted, he spoke to us about how people can donate to help in an upcoming court challenge. And here is part of that interview. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
For now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation or send e-transfers to save the VCBC at gmail.com. I guess those are the two easiest ways for people to help right now.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, we're back from a break. We're live on our YouTube channel, Twitter, Facebook pages. List goes on and on. Rev, we haven't got enough time to list them all.
So many places. So many.
That's right. That's right. We heard Ted there during the commercial break. It was good to see him on your show last night, Spiritual Sunday.
Yeah. He's a great man. We're so lucky that he fights the way he does and doesn't stop and doesn't plan on it anytime soon. He's just going to keep going and handing out medicine and working so hard.
Yeah, and you know, some people have, patients are just fear mongering. Well, could you just imagine if patients didn't step up in so many different court cases?
Exactly.
It would still be we'd still be back in the dark ages in the cannabis laws.
Yeah, right. And changes would never have been made, and
That's
lives would
right.
never have been saved. So
That's right.
we like
Exactly.
fear mongering then. Fear mongering is great. If that's what it is, then great. Let's do more of it.
All right. On our first story of the second half of the show. And in the marijuana moment, it says Biden promotes his cannabis pardons days before the election, but retaliates. Relief is just for possession, which is important to say.
Okay. Now I have it. So sorry.
Did you lose it?
President Joe Biden. Yeah, I keep having pop-ups. Silly pop-ups.
Oh,
President Joe Biden is again touting his mass cannabis pardons ahead of the election, though he's curiously making a point to emphasize how the relief is limited to federal possession cases.
That's right, because people hear this word pardon in cannabis, they think everything, and it's not everything.
Right.
It's just the possession. You get violence involved in it or whatever, you're not included in this.
Right.
At the end of the speech on the administration's student debt relief actions on Thursday, Biden briefly mentioned the cannabis clemency proclamation, signaling that he recognizes the popularity of the issue, particularly among young voters.
He says, I'm keeping my promise that no one should be in jail merely for possessing cannabis, by the way, just for possession, he said. Nobody should be in jail. Those records should be expunged.
The fact that the clemency action only affects people who've committed federal cannabis offenses, federal, and only for U.S. citizens and residents of legal alien offenders has been a subject of criticism among advocates who feel that the president should provide more expansive relief, including the people who've sold cannabis.
But Biden seems to want to reinforce the limitations of his proclamation, even though the majority of the voters, they back broad federal legalization. The president also notably said in Thursday's speech that cannabis possession records should be expunged, whereas he incorrectly claimed in a separate interview on Tuesday that anybody who was ever arrested for just for the possession of cannabis, the record is expunged through his pardon action last month. So he's just really flip-flopping with that, isn't he?
So it's not automatic. It says here they don't have to list it anymore, and it's going to free up a lot of opportunities, said, misstating the scope of his action given the pardons were generally more limited than expungements. Yes, exactly. Misspoke. Used the difference of one word, is and should.
Right. I don't know if you saw any of the students out there, but it was really, really cool to see. Steve D'Angelo was posting about them. The Students for Sensible Drug Policy and the Last Prisoner Project and DCMJ staged protests outside of the White House last week to call attention to that issue, demanding that Biden release the estimated 2,800 people currently in federal prison for cannabis convictions that aren't limited to simple possession.
Yeah, Representative Alexandria Ocasio, I knew I'm going to mess that up, said last week that Biden's cannabis pardon proclamation should be applauded, but the action is nevertheless critically limited because it exempts non-citizens who constitute the vast majority of federal possession cases.
So what does that mean? They're not U.S. citizens. They came into the country and they had cannabis, and now they're in U.S. jail.
Yeah,
is that what that means?
That's what it sort of says. That's what it seems to me. If somebody who wasn't a U.S. citizen who was arrested and put into jail. Yep.
Okay. The White House drug czar recently cheered Biden's historic move to issue a mass cannabis pardon and direct an administrative review of the drug scheduling status. And he is again highlighting that there are clearly medical benefits of cannabis use, which he says shouldn't be ignored because of separate concerns about youth use. Why are we talking to a drug czar? What does that mean?
Well, I look at this as what he's saying is they shouldn't ignore the benefits of medical cannabis because people are concerned about youth use.
Certainly. Certainly. But
Yeah,
who is
that's
this?
what he's saying. Where some people, yeah,
Okay,
some
maybe
people
we'll
are
get
looking
somebody
at
else
that
on
as
record.
some people, I would say, were looking at the youth concern as a reason to keep it illegal. Is the way
Yeah.
and he said, no, we shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
So,
Right.
which is true.
Right.
You know, there's ways you deal with that. You know,
That's-
maybe be responsible and put your cannabis out of reach for your kids.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Justice Department and U.S. Department of Health and Health Services have committed to quickly carrying out the separate scheduling review the president directed, which could result in a recommendation to place cannabis in a lower schedule or remove it altogether, which it sounds good to me. Remove it altogether, which would make it federally illegal. It only makes sense.
Right. Right. It says the Vice President Kamala said last month that voters should elect lawmakers who support cannabis reform so that Congress can enact a uniform approach to the issue in light of the president's cannabis pardons.
And as we know, poll after poll after poll says the citizens of the U.S. want it legalized.
They agree.
Right? So aren't people elected to represent what their citizens want them to do?
Not in the USA. No, that's not true. In America, no way.
It's tomorrow's the midterms.
Okay, I have no idea what that means. Does that mean that there's going to be a new president tomorrow?
No. They have a president election every 4 years, and they have their regular they elect people all the way up the ballot every 4 years, and the president. And every 2 years, there's some changes that can come in play. I think there's some certain states that like it almost feels like you're in a nonstop election cycle every 2 years, whether it's a midterm or full out. Yeah,
I don't know. It made me think. Did that Biden man not just win? What's going on here?
2 years ago, yeah. But because they have the House, then they have the Senate, and they have the president, the White House. So there's three stages of levels of government. They're all equal. Right? So right now the Democrats have control of the House and the Senate and the White House. Well, after tomorrow, it could be the Republicans having control over the House and the Senate, and then Joe Biden will just have, and the Democrats would have the White House. So basically what happens is nothing. Because the House and the Senate won't pass any bills to send up
nothing
to the president to be signed.
Okay. So what the heck? It feels like there would be a lot of money spent on something like that. And if for nothing to happen,
a lot of money is spent on elections.
How is this the world? What? Okay.
Oh yeah.
And
all right, we should carry on. I gotta find my cursor. Where did it go? There it is. All right. Next story. Sean Diddy Combs to acquire cannabis businesses for up to $185 million.
Yeah. Puff Daddy was his name once. That's how I know him. Puff Daddy. He's a hip hop mogul and a businessman, and he says he's venturing into the world of cannabis.
Yeah, Combs has agreed to acquire licensed cannabis operations in New York, Massachusetts, and Illinois from Cresco Labs and Columbia's Care Inc. in a deal worth $1.85 million. $185 million. The transaction marks Combs' first investment in cannabis and will create the country's first minority-owned, vertically integrated, multi-state cannabis company, as well as the world's largest black-owned cannabis company, according to release from Combs and Company.
Wow, that's something. That's huge. Wow, Puff Daddy has lots of money. The transaction comes after Cresco Labs earlier this year agreed to purchase rival Columbia Care in a $2 billion deal that would make Cresco the top U.S. cannabis producer. It was one of the biggest deals in the cannabis industry and required Cresco to divest assets in limited licensed markets such as New York.
The deal includes 4 retail stores and 1 production facility in New York State, 3 retail stores, 1 production facility in Massachusetts, and 2 retail stores and 1 production facility in Illinois. So it sounds like they took things that company had to get rid of.
Yeah.
And he's purchased them.
Whew, he's going to be more rich. Saying,
Mhm.
my mission has always been to create opportunities for Black entrepreneurs in industries where we've traditionally been denied access. And this acquisition provides the immediate scale and impact needed to create more equitable future in cannabis.
Yep. The assets gives Combs the ability to manufacture branded cannabis products and distribute the products to dispensaries in major metropolitan areas like New York, Boston, Chicago, and he will be able to operate retail stores in 3 states.
Whew.
There you go.
Very interesting. Wow, very cool.
Yeah. Another artist getting involved in the
Yeah.
cannabis world.
Making lots of money.
Yes. Well, and what being his name was, Puff Daddy, what kind of products could you see, named products coming out of there?
Right. That's right. Wow, making changes globally.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
All right, up next, Rastafari Council deplores retaining cannabis as a criminal offense. According to the Attorney General, says it's a delicate balance.
Yeah. The Guyana Rastafari Council on Saturday assailed government's rejection of a proposal to decriminalize the possession of cannabis rather than merely removing imprisonment as a penalty. But Attorney General Anel Nandwal has already said that the changes to the narcotics law are aimed at finding a delicate balance between competing interests.
Yeah, he says it at the he said at a bipartisan parliamentary select committee there were no amendments to the government-sponsored bill to scrap the sentences for the possession of 30 grams or less of cannabis, but instead provides for community service. Being in possession of 30 or less grams of cannabis continues to be a criminal offense, but this bill is what it removes custodial sentence to the sentences. Prior to this bill, persons would have been sentenced to no less than 3 years.
Wow.
And no more than 6 years were the person to have been found of possession of 30 grams. 30 grams, and you got 3 years minimum time in jail.
Jeez. Wow.
Holy fuck.
Whew.
Wow. Boys. We don't often get stories from Guyana.
No.
And if their law right now tells you that you can go to jail for 3 years minimum, a minimum,
Yeah.
for an ounce.
Yeah. Not going to Guyana anytime soon.
Not going. Wow.
Oh, I know. It says the Rastafari Council said that they plan to protest outside the Arthur Chung Conference Center on Monday when the amendment to the Narcotic and Psychotropic Substances Act is expected to be debated and passed by government's 1-seat majority in the National Assembly. Whew.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it says here, as it remains as a bill seeks to further suck the life out of the poor and ordinary Guineans by imposing a fine of 250,000 Guineanese dollars, which is $1,300 US, and for Rastafarians and others who will definitely refuse to submit to counseling and community work for using cannabis, keeping with their spirituality.
What? It literally is their medicine for their religion. It's their spirituality. Yeah. It literally is their substance that they use to connect to God. Like it's their religious sacrament. It's not like it's not like it medicine, yes, and it's recreation, yes, but for these people, for the Rastafarians, this is their true connection to the plant, and it's not used in any other way. So I don't understand. Yeah. How can they take that from them?
I know, eh? Sad, isn't it? Really sad.
It really is.
All right. I'm just going to shut that. So sad. I shut that story down.
Shut it down. I don't like it anymore. It's as a minister of cannabis spirituality. That's the kind of stuff that just.
Every once in a while, we get a story like that pops up.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. Where, so many countries have changed, and you and I, we just go up and down the street with 30 grams, not even worry about it. Whereas now, we know in Guyana, people are serving 3 years minimum jail time
for an ounce jail. That's
for an ounce.
I can't imagine if someone said to me, "You can't use cannabis to pray. You can no longer use it to pray." What?
Exactly. All right, next story. Spain seizes world's largest cannabis haul to date, according to the group Bust was supplying most of Europe.
Most of Europe. So there's going to be a dry patch for recreational cannabis on the black market in Europe right now. They reported the confiscation was the largest haul of packaged cannabis ever found globally. Now, authorities say that they seized more than 32 tons of cannabis. That's equivalent of over 1 million plants, which they estimate to have a street value. Of course, they estimate wrong, but the street value of more than $65 million.
Operation Jardines has concluded the seizure of 32,370,000 kilograms of cannabis buds, the largest seizure of substance not only in Spain but internationally. Its equivalence is incomplete plants would be, as you said, 1.1 million plants, according to the police statement.
What? Whew. A group of 20 people, police arrested them. They had more than 32 tons of buds stored in the Spanish cities of Toledo, Ciudad Real, Valencia, and Asturias, which they sold through a complex business network that involves sending the cannabis vacuum packed throughout Spain, as well as to Switzerland, Holland, Germany, and Belgium, and other European countries. It feels like a movie, like they're going to make a movie of it.
Yeah, the report says the 20 people, men and women in the cannabis operation controlled the entire production and distribution through various companies, which carried out different parts of the process, from buying the seeds to growing and drying the plants to packaging them and stripping them out.
That's somebody's medicine. That's
Yeah.
somebody's medicine. Oh, they're not going to have their medicine in Europe right now.
Yeah.
Recreational usage in Spain is decriminalized and permitted in private settings, including the cultivation of a small number of cannabis plants if they are not visible from outside. There are roughly 700 cannabis clubs across Spain, with some requiring membership fees or exclusive invites to join. Given that supply and distribution remains illegal, this approach echoes the Dutch model.
Oh, you went down. Okay. Yeah, my screen went funny there, so I thought that story had ended. But I see where I went back. Yeah,
I thought it was important to mention that.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah, those pop-ups went crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's
a lot.
It's a lot of cannabis. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
32 tons. Oh,
And just because they don't have as much access as we do, that would be medicine for so many people over there. And there's going to be a shortage. There's going to be a drought.
Yeah.
Of cannabis in Europe right now. If they were supplying that much, how many tons was that?
32.
Whew.
It's a lot of cannabis. There's no doubt there. All right. Well, it's Mushie Moment time. Headline says, psychedelic users tend to have greater objective knowledge about climate change. Who knew, Kelly? Who knew?
I love it. A recent study published in Drug Science Policy and Law has made new inroads into understanding the relationship between taking psychedelics and feeling connected to nature. The findings indicate that those with a history of psilocybin and LSD use are more likely to report a sense of nature relatedness.
Because consequently, they are knowledgeable about climate change compared to the individuals who do not report psychedelic use. The results of this study demonstrate that those who use psychedelics are not simply meeting the cultural expectations of how a user of psilocybin or LSD should behave. Rather, they have genuine interest in nature. Identifying the psychedelic use increases our connection to nature may someday be irrelevant as we continue to fight climate change.
Eat mushrooms, fight climate change. Consequently, did you read that? Yes. Research on the consequences of taking psychedelic drugs consistently indicate that users demonstrate more pro-environmental behavior and greater nature relatedness. The research team of Christina Segelio and Matthias Fortman recognized that it was still unknown if this was a natural consequence or of psychedelic use or resulting confirmation bias. It is common to find a cultural narrative that those who use psychedelics are hippies or tree huggers. Yes, we are. Both.
Before all this work was done, it was unclear if psychedelic users just perceived themselves to naturally have a higher degree of nature readiness than those who did not use the substances. Much of the research on psychedelics is in the form of self-report surveys. This data collection tool is vulnerable to confirmation bias, where those answering the survey provide responses that should be true about them, but may not be.
Okay, so the research team recruited 641 participants through university mailing lists, student Facebook groups, and forums on various social media platforms. The sample was made of Western Europeans and Americans. Participants took the survey that inquired about lifetime experience with psychedelics, opiates, MDMA, and then in addition, they were asked questions about their level of nature relatedness and completed a 10-question quiz assessing their climate change knowledge and concern.
The results of these efforts found that those with a history of psilocybin followed by LSD scored highest in nature readiness and knowledge of climate change. The statistical analysis concluded that an increase in nature readiness seemed to be the factor that influenced individuals to pursue knowledge of climate change. Interestingly, the use of psilocybin or LSD was not related to the increased reports in climate concern.
Okay. So these substances make us more conscious. They get rid of the plaque in our brains so that we're more aware of all of our surroundings and that around us. And I think that really has a lot of truth to this, because when we do consume that, we think more, and it sort of gives us that, oh, we better be, the world is on fire. We better be more conscious of it. But I have one other theory to share with you that came from Jack Kunkel. Sure. The very first time I visited Jack Kunkel, he told me that aliens dropped mushrooms on the planet so that humans could consume them and that the aliens would have connections with our brains. So I think maybe they also are sending us messages to let us know about climate change and be prepared. If Jack Kunkel tells me that, Al, I'm going to believe him.
You're going to believe it. There you go. Hey, you just never know. Just never know. Let's see what else is on there. I guess that's about it. Yeah. If you're doing psychedelics, you're worried about climate change and you're being involved in all that.
I want to give it to everybody now. I'm just going to hand everybody mushrooms that's polluting, and we'll just take it right to Nestle.
Yeah.
Eat these mushrooms.
Exactly. Those are our stories for today. But I think that we've got about 2 minutes here, maybe 3 minutes at the most, to remind everybody about what we're going to do next week.
Right. November 14th, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a roundtable discussion.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about question 5.2, which is asking Canadian citizens for input on the medical program, on whether they believe that the medical program is necessary. They want to know if a store, the recreational stores, will suffice as a replacement to the medical program. That's a store that we're told that cannot talk medical issues with patients.
Right. Right. And how many times are we hearing wrong dosing that's coming from there, and people are graining out or getting sick, or the elderly that are falling because of the bad dosing? No, it's not good enough.
So they've got to no, it's not right. That shuts down the program altogether.
Right.
There's an affordability issue. Yes, like I know there's people talking about past court cases and things like that. I've talked with actually Al on the 420 radio show, had Jack Lloyd on there. I was on there with him as a guest, and the discussion was that the all decision and affordability will be the thing that will save the program. But I don't know. I don't know whether it will or not. It'll only be a matter of time because, as prices are going down. Say the prices come down, they remove the program because the affordability issue is gone.
Right.
Markets change. Prices go up.
Right.
Patients can only grow 4 plants, just like the recreational consumer can.
Yeah.
That's not going to be enough.
No, it's not.
No.
And we don't want to be doing it and removing it, and then other nations in the world say, "Oh, well, Canada removed their medical program. We're not even going to get one. If Canada doesn't even need it, right?
Yeah.
What's going to happen to children? That's my biggest concern. What happens to the children that need a medical prescription? What happens to them?
Exactly. Is a mom just going to expected to go to, the local cannabis store and pick up some FECO? Is FECO even available in the stores?
I don't even know. But we got to think about the little ones. We're going to think about the ones that need to be properly dosed and all the people that would be affected by this. So tune in, please. November 14th, 7 to 9 p.m.
That's right. Exactly. Anything else before I sign off?
Have a great day.
All right. That's a Reefer report from Legacy420.com's news desk for November the 7th, 2022. Thanks to our sponsors, Legacy 420, BMA Hydroponics, and the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. And don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive. The only way to go.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.